We'd do something a little different this morning. It is a good way to start the day. Get your frisson on. F-R-I-S-S-O-N, frisson. Look it up in your funk and wag notes. As much as I love it, I think I should turn it down. Good morrow, godlings. I am prompted today to speak to you in a bit of a disheveled way here this morning, as I didn't sleep at all hardly last night. But a lot of the time was spent in meditation, and so definitely not wasted. We do not generally waken all at once, realizing the fullness of our... It just doesn't happen that way, that in this world, as we spiritual beings waken, becoming more and more lucid and understanding more and more the depths of our calling. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens a bit at a time, and that's because we've built a mind. Each of us has built a mind, a theory of everything, a model, a working model. And that mind is designed to help guide the brain. It's like software that we build for our squishyware, the brain. And the brain uses it to search for pleasure and sustenance and avoid pain and loss. Now, excuse me, we don't generally observe ourselves in the act of creating our own mind. It just happens that we make these inferences about why things happen the way they do, causal relationships we believe we see. We don't observe ourselves in the process of doing that, because most of us are unconscious most of the time, and we would be lucid, that is, observing ourselves in the act of constructing a mind. If we had observed ourselves doing it, we would be lucid. That's what lucidity is. Because it's lucid because you've disentangled your identity from the mind, which has been, these days, especially attacking your peace. And lucidity is realizing that you are not your story, not your body, not your mind. And that's the last one to go, usually. Although there is some vestige of people than even advanced spiritual seekers and committed. We tend to build a bigger narrative that we think of as ourselves. Now it's transcendent. It just doesn't include just this life. It transcends realms and supposed barriers. Yes. So we've built this mind. We didn't observe ourselves building it. And because we didn't observe it, we don't realize we're its architect as it attacks us. We don't realize we can change the mind. Just write new code. Because we're godlings. And that's our mind we're constructing, our theory of everything, our model. So we can change it, but we don't realize we can change it until we observe the mind and we observe that we are not the mind. Tink! Lucidity. Aha! Then we observe what's actually the contents of the mind and we start editing it so that it's less destructive at first and downright imagifestational next. If you begin to witness constantly your self-talk and the contents of your mind, and you're earnest about it, honest with yourself, and heroic honesty is required, we'll see that the mind is very dysfunctional and full of a bunch of beliefs that are just not well-founded, not true, and destructive. Not fair to anyone, not fair to everyone, not serving us. If they were serving us, they wouldn't be making us miserable and drawn the attention of the I am presence that you are. Consciousness itself, conscious of itself. We're creating all of this. We are so powerful. Our expectations are what we find. We look for vindication and validation of our theories in general, of our toe, our big toe, theory of everything, our mind, our self-talk. Underneath this frantic reinforcing of our belief system is the frightening concept that we're not a very reliable judge of what's going on. And so we in fact ignore evidence to the contrary of our theories, lest we find ourselves poor judges of reality. And in so doing, we make ourselves poor judges of reality and poor stewards of the world. We are creating all of this. The climate variation, yes, I understand science, but which side is causal? Is it because we believe in it that the relationships work the way they do? Or do the relationships merely serve to prop up our belief? And we're ignoring details that would reveal to us a greater level of causal operation, that being everywhere, ubiquitous, yes, and pervasive yet subtle. And find that it is ourselves, our expectations. Quantum science is now discovering, or coming to terms with at last, the observer affects the observed. Our expectation creates outcomes. We are doing all of this. I'm going to keep telling you this. We're doing it with our minds, our expectations. We are doing it, in fact. We're making it worse out of our fear. The way that works is our attention, driven by our fear. Grace Marie, lay down in your bed. Thank you. Yes, Tarzan. Our attention is driven by our fear to lock on what we do not will to experience. Let me say that again. Because we are in fear, our attention is more intense. Our expectations are heightened. And our attention is locked on the very scenarios we fear and do not wish to bring to pass. And we are doing it with our attention coupled with our high amplitude fear and dread. Constant, pervasive in the field of the world right now. And we're doing it. We are skewing the probability that outcomes we do not want will occur because we are so worked up. And we are worked up partially because the media has discovered that they can get you to check the news more often and the weather more often if you are frightened or angry. And so now they are couching the terms of everything in scarier, more inflammatory words than is helpful. This results in more fear. They're doing all this because they've found out that they can do this, and that makes them able to sell more ad space because we're there clicking, anxiously looking for what we do not will to find. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? God, not that, not that, not that. Stop doing that. Please, I beg you. Wake up. Be lucid. Observe yourself fixating on exactly what you do not want. This is very, very good news if you've an ear at all to hear. It means we have the power to change it all. Think about that. How do we do that? Two things. Become the constant, chronic observer of your mind, of your self-talk. Second thing, do not look for what you don't will to find. Use your attention. Focus it on what you will to experience. Indeed, look away from anything that frightens or upsets you. There is a balance to be struck. Obviously, the exigencies of life in the world mean that we have to strike a balance in this. But even as you work towards dissolving problems in the environment with the arms of flesh, keep your mind looking for the manifestation of the solution, the dissolution of the problem. It is your attention. Put your attention intentionally because you are lucid, observing your self-talk, wielding your will, which is basically a function of it functions through attention. What you will to experience, you must wield your attention to experience. You have to look for it. You have to expect it with the same heightening of emotion. Wake up, the rooster's calling. Heighten the emotion, but not with fear. Heighten the emotion with as much joyous expectation as you can summon. It occurred to me in my meditations last night that we are told, be still and know that I am God. Punctuation is so important. It is not be still and know that I am God. It is be still and know that I am God. In other words, there is an I am presence in each of us. And to know it, you must be still. You must hold the mind still. And guess who you find the I am is? It's the one who holds the mind still. The thing you are looking for is the thing that is looking. So we are charged to be still and know in that stillness our own vast presence. That sings to your soul in that vastness. Be still and know your own vast I am presence. It's not to say you're alone. There are others I am, other I ams, lots and lots of them, but we're all joined in the one I am. There are no separate selves. There are unique trait sets and perspectives. But there's no separation. So don't worry about finding yourself alone and lonely. There's plenty of company. So when you are still and you know the vast I am presence, when you center in that lucidity of being consciousness itself, conscious of itself, you are the ultimate observer. You are very fixed on observing the self-talk that has been sabotaging you, the expectations you've been looking to have vindicated in some queer desire to place being correct about a bad theory over being joyously incorrect. So that you can release the unhelpful beliefs and be happy. We have some queer preference to finding out we were right. Oh, we want to be happy because we've been vindicated. Because everybody knows now we were right all along. We were correct all along. You should have listened to me. So we would rather cling to that being right than joyously celebrate finding out we've been wrong and that things are much more hopeful and wonderful than we imagined before. We get attached to that victim self-talk, that self-sabotaging identification with a story, a dream we have created with our expectations and our attention-wielding behaviors in order to find precisely what our theory tells us we should find, because we don't want to find out that our theory is faulty, because we make the really stupid leap to that means I am an unfit steward of my own mind, an unfit judge of the situation. And by doing this again, we make ourselves unfit stewards of the world and our minds. We are literally creating all of it with our expectations, self-talk, and attention. Please stop watching the news. I hate to say that. You can scroll through and look at the headlines, but don't listen to them. Don't listen to their voices charged with high-intensity emotions that are not good for you, that are going to make it harder for you to cast your attention in the direction of what you will to find. I have been saying Imagifest, 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 because it teaches you to look, to construct an experience of the things you will to find. And that's how you actually change what's outside of you. You hold a vision. You hold a vision of the greatest outcome possible. The whole world awakening. Lucid in the dream of the world. Everybody awakening, realizing, what have we been doing? Oh, wait a second here. Hold a vision of that. Don't think, not that, about the things you don't want. Focus on this. This is what I will. I know, we really don't like some of the situation. Our little egos have been rubbed the wrong way by various personalities. Our judgments, which I don't mean in a bad way, our estimations of what is just and right and good and lawful and proper behavior are being trampled. Absolutely, in a totally callous way. But it's just enough abuse that it doesn't push over the edge, quickly violating all our standards, so that we rise up and do something about it with the arms of flesh in the physical world. This is very calculated. This is like being in an abusive relationship, and your abuser knows just how far to push you before they cause you to actually do something to get out of the relationship. It is the same thing. We don't want, in a queer way, again, a kind of sick way, we don't want to see these people actually realize what they're doing at a spiritual level and suddenly become compunctious, admit what they've been doing wrong, apologize, and stop, reform. Somehow we don't really want to see that happen because we think people don't change like that. But Spirit can work a mighty change, especially if all of us are giving it permission. I know what you're thinking right now. What is she saying? I'm saying charity. You have to hold a charitable vision, a forgiving vision that leaves room for everyone whose behavior offends you. It leaves room, your vision of them leaves room for them to find a way back, a way into redemption, a way to make it right that isn't so scary for them that they'll never do it. They are human beings, afraid. Once a person seizes power or position or authority and begins to abuse it, they know they deserve retribution. It makes them more frightened, and then they have to do more and more outrageous things in order to hold on to power against the rising energetic disapproval in the fields and words and behavior of those whose sensibilities they're offending. They're trapped. So we have to find a way for them to come back, to get out. That means we have to think of them as charitably as possible. We have to think of them as simple human beings who have trapped themselves because of their minds that have values which are decidedly worldly oriented, not reaching for higher order, not reaching for anything but power, fame, and wealth. That's what their minds think is valuable. And so they move towards that notion of profit. They don't realize it does not profit them anything. I mean, and it's so apropos right now, the Christ's words. What profited a man to gain the whole world and lose his immortal soul? People have queer notions of profit. And that's all parts of their minds, and they're not observing it. They're not lucid. They don't realize. Okay? We're becoming more and more lucid. More and more of us are in critical observer mode of self-talk and how productive it is, how helpful it is. The spells we're casting with our words, our expectations, and with our attention and searching behaviors. We look for what we do not will to find, and we catch ourselves doing it more and more. I urge you to do this. I urge you to do it, and to every time you catch yourself speaking into being, writing into being, fretting into being, what you do not will to find, that you then counter it with a new manifested vision that you put in its place, and you focus your attention on it, and you say, I am this outcome. I am. I call to you, I am. This is a name, I am. It is you calling to your own God self. I am. Be centered in knowing yourself as the I am presence that you are. Call yourself to attention, I am. This outcome I will define. This is the way you talk to yourself. This is the way you undo the negative you have inadvertently cast into the field with your attention on something none of us want. I am the reconciliation of all the world. I am the awakening of conscience and compunction and principles in the hearts of our government leaders everywhere. I am the voice for truth in the hearts of the officials that cannot be denied or ignored. I am the rising of the desire that we be atoned, that we be reconciled. I am the reconciliation. I am the restoration. I am the resurrection. I am the awakening of the whole world in lucidity and reclaiming its power We are godlings, people. Sorry, I get so intense. We're godlings. We've been creating what we don't want for a very long time. I have just told you how to uncreate what you do not want and begin to create in your externalized experience what you do will to find. Keep your attention focused on that, on actually finding what it is you've just spoken into being that you would rather have instead of what you have. Keep looking for evidence of it. See that you are approaching it. Trust in it. Faith. Start with small things. It's really been working for me. And I'm going to tell you the first one I used, as earthy as it is. I'm going to tell you how you can use this in your everyday life. Most all of us have had cats. And when cats get old, particularly males, they have a tendency to develop kidney issues. Now they do it younger and younger because they're putting so much phosphates in our cat food these days, and the cat food is wrecking the kidneys. Cats used to live to be 18, 19, 20 years old fairly commonly. Not anymore, and it's the food. So I have this old male cat, and he was just up here a few minutes ago. Luigi. There he is over there. I don't know if you can see him. Yeah, he's over there. Luigi is 16. And occasionally in the past, he has, when he was dealing with kidney issues, relieved himself in front of the box instead of getting into the box, back in the mudroom where the litter boxes are. And I started using this technique, the I am, and looking for what I willed to find about 3 months ago, because Michael suggested it. I started asserting and seeing in my mind space. Occasionally Luigi disappears back there. He normally lives in a high-rise big parrot cage with 3 levels with his own litter box, food and water, and then I'd let him out during the day first thing in the morning. So he usually uses his own box in his own apartment, and he puts himself back in there when he's ready to be done with, the other cats and everything. So it's not like he hates it, he actually likes it. But occasionally he disappears into that back room where the litter boxes are, and of course in the past I have always thought, uh-oh, and I went back there looking for the puddle I was going to have to clean up. About 3 months ago, I stopped doing that. Caught myself doing it. Caught myself expecting it. Caught myself go, well, I'm going to have to clean up another puddle. Headed back that way, right? And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, he came out of here. It doesn't mean anything. I haven't seen anything yet, and this is critical. I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary of what I will. So let me imagifest what I will. And I stopped and actually stood there a moment outside the door to the mudroom, and I saw in front of the litter box dryness. I saw the floor the way it had been right after I'd mopped it, and it had dried. It looked pristine. Saw it in my mind, felt the lovely feeling we have when everything looks so nice and fresh and lovely and clean. And I stepped around the corner through the door looking for dry. Damned if I didn't find it. And I haven't found anything but dry for 3 months. And that is not what physics and simple biology would lead you to expect as far as old cats with kidney disease just suddenly not having the same tendencies they had before. So I'm going to encourage you to look for, oh dear, I forgot I was going to have that. I'm going to encourage you to, metaphorically speaking, look for dry. Expect dry. I know you don't think it's much. But I started small with that, and I've moved to other things, like customers and book sales. I asserted last night, I am. 7 more orders for counseling sessions, for coaching, in my queue before the end of the month. And I got up this morning, and before I booted up the computer, I took a moment to visualize in my head what my calendar page would look like. And then I expected it with joyous anticipation. That feeling of Easter egg hunting. Oh, Easter egg hunting. Easter's secretly my favorite holiday. I guess it's not so secret anymore. It's my favorite holiday. All 7 were in my calendar. It works. And the more you use it, starting with small things that you can easily believe in, that you can say, okay, I can see that happening. Don't really challenge yourself really hard against beliefs that you really don't hold. Don't do that right away. Start small. Okay? So that you can build your experience with this, that it works. First, you have to teach yourself to trust that this works before you can actually make other things, bigger things happen. And I've been doing this now for 3 months. And I'm not attracting anything. I am amming it into being. I am this outcome. I am. Are you listening? I am. Hello, I am. Everything here is the I am. There is nothing but the I am. And I am this outcome that I will to experience. I've been doing it with pain and illness for the last 3 months. I am this condition's correction and its dissolution. And I've been doing it so much that when a pain rises in my body when I'm laying in bed, I don't have to anymore get so formal about the even I am. I just put my attention on it and say, corrected and dissolved. And then I push that thought into it. And the pain sort of squirts right out the other side. There's no room for the pain with that assertion inserted in its place. Corrected and dissolved. I urge you, start practicing right away. We all need to get really good at this, and as fast as possible. Think charitably. Search charitably. Will passionately and charitably. Put your attention on what you will to manifest. What we will to manifest is government leaders who have strong conscience, who cannot be bought off by corporations, who cannot escape the inner voice that directs them to do the honorable thing, that directs them to integrity, that directs them to tell the truth, that directs them to enforce the law and seek justice, that directs them as the I am. that is what we will. We will for that to rise. They're going to have to convict their past behavior in order to move forward, to stop that nagging conscience eating at them. They will have to convict themselves. And we have to love them with a vibe that gives them room to do that. We have to give them a way back. We have to give them a way back with our emotions, with our feelings. We have to be willing to be reconciled. We must will to be reconciled. Everybody here is equally human. Everybody here is just doing human things they trap themselves in by constructing a mind that they did not observe themselves in the process of constructing, and so they need upgrading, those minds. They need updating. They haven't been updated in a very long time. There's nobody lucid at home to do the updating. This is why I push lucidity, and now you know why I push a manifestation. They are two pieces that we need to develop skills so that we can turn things around, so that we can wield the power of our godly estate in our I am authority. Everything's already all right. All of this is happening so we can waken. And I'm wakening, like everybody else, more and more, but I'm wakening faster. Not than everybody, but I'm waking faster than most because I'm lucidly, intentionally focused my attention on doing so. I'm not searching, I've found. And what I found is a vast inner being full of power. It has taken a rebuilding of the old mind that was so rooted in the physical experience. The edges of my expectations had to be tattered. The edges of my mind, the interlocking beliefs had to be tattered so that a larger view, a bigger mind could be built that could understand the revelation that is ongoing in my life, because I will my life to be an ongoing revelation. I came back to help. I can't do that unless I am seeking ongoing revelation. So when I come upon new relevancies, when I realize a new understanding of what's important, I'm going to fess up with you completely. It's not like I know everything. But this has become apparent to me, that this little talk was needed, and that this is the way forward, people. It ties back in perfectly with what I was shown and what I felt and experienced in my NDE, that we are creating the world with our expectations, our searching behavior, our self-talk, coupled with amplified emotions. And we are creating unconsciously, that's without lucidity, precisely what we do not will to find. You need to understand you're a godling. You must create. It is a natural consequence of what you are. You cannot not create. So you have two choices. Either consciously, imagifest, create what you will, or unconsciously, without lucidity, manifest what you dread. And presently, most of us are doing the latter. This is the way forward. I point you at this, and I beg you to take it on board. Start practicing. I am small things into experience first, so you can see it operating, and then gradually grow bigger. And your faith in the fact that you are a fractal of I am, which is like a hologram, which is a hologram of the I am. You fully integrate with the field of that I am presence, and that this is your birthright. And take ownership of it and responsibility for using it wisely, lucidly. This is the shift away from identifying with a mind that is attacking our peace and destroying our experience, to identifying as the I am presence. That's the shift. The awakening, same thing. Lucidity in the dream of the world. We all talk about shift. We all talk about awakening. But those are pretty vague words. Well, I'm defining them for you. The shift is in identification. You're not your body, not your story, not your mind attacking your peace. You are the consciousness observing all of that. That's the shift. Identification. The awakening, same thing. The shift is the awakening, meaning you're lucid in the dream of the world, observing your self-talk and the way you have been unconsciously creating what you dreaded. You don't know you've been unconscious until you wake up. Unless this is totally ringing true for you, at some level you recognize it all, then you're sleeping really deeply unconscious. You're trying to wake up, but you don't know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, you're lucid. It's a subtle shift that is the awakening. And realizing, oh, look what I've been doing to myself. Wow, I've been practically asleep my whole life. Why, sleepwalking is all I've ever done up until now. Bink. That's it. And then we, jointly and individually, usher in all the spectacular stuff that we expected the shift and the awakening to be. That spectacular stuff, clouds parting, angels singing, is the consequence of the awakening and the shift. The shift, which is the awakening. Okay, I think that's enough. I've kicked that horse as many different times in as many different places as I can to get it up off the ground. So, I love you all. Please click the like button. Don't forget, that really helps. Subscribe, please, if you haven't yet. Check out our books in our store at crackedpotpublishing.com. I'm working on the first sequel to Rise in Lucidity and Master Anxiety, and the sequel will be Master Your Mind and Ascend. We'll talk about what exactly ascension means, too. And then there's the Vampire Grail Affairs, which is literary erotic fantasy. Teaches all the same concepts, primes the mind, gets the chakras purring, but it's very erotic, so don't go in there if you don't want to do that. If you're already up here, all the chakras are awake, and most of your energy's up here and above, then you don't need the Vampire Grail Affairs. If Vampire Grail Affairs is for people who are still unconscious, basically, but they can get the message sideways delivered. We wrote it for people who would never read a self-help book. So check that out, and if you would, please share the video, comments, let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. It's food for later other videos. Lets me know what I'm not covering sufficiently well. And share the video if you would, please. We gotta spread this, people. We really do. And thank you very much ahead of time for all your help. And now, for fewer and fewer of you, we're going to have to put out that little I. Replace it with the great I. Bye-bye.